Welcome to this year's Bitkom Privacy Conference. This is already our second day, and if you already joined us yesterday, you know the procedure, but I'll quickly talk you through what will be happening today. My name is Rebekka Weiß. I'm Head of Trust and Security here at Bitkom, and it is my greatest pleasure to guide you through our program that is quite packed with the most interesting and most important topics regarding data protection, but also tech developments, and of course the greatest privacy experts around the globe. We kind of aimed to cover it all this year. This is why we called this privacy conference the 360-degree approach. So you will not only see a lot of interesting conversations, discussions, and also, of course, presentations about the GDPR and e-privacy, but also we'll talk about AI, we will talk about privacy-enhancing technologies, compliance, of course, and data security, and also cover a lot of interesting international aspects about it all, because international data transfers, of course, are still kind of one of the focus points of the debate. And we have included and invited speakers from Germany, France, UK, the US, and Singapore to give you as many different perspectives as possible. To kind of guide your way through the platform that you're using today, just a few heads up. So you'll be able to build your own agenda in the Swapcard platform, so you can decide which sessions you want to see when we split our stages in the afternoon. So after 1 p.m., we will split into two stages, and if you want to take a look in advance, you can kind of decide which stages you want to follow. You will also, of course, be able to pose your questions, because we always want to do these virtual formats as interactive as possible. So please feel free to type all your questions that you have in the chat in the session that you're seeing, and I'll do my best to include them in our discussions here on stage. You'll also, of course, be able to network with all of the other privacy experts that are joining us today. You can find wherever you look, there's a participants button, and if you scroll through there, I bet you'll find some familiar faces, but also a lot of new people that you want to connect with. Our hashtag, if you want to follow or kind of build the discussion in the social media, is hashtag PCO23. We are glad if you kind of share your ideas, your impressions, and also continue the debates in the social forums. Also, a big thank you to our partners this year, because without their support, our conference wouldn't be happening, and of course you all wouldn't be joining us for free, and we absolutely aimed to make this conference as inclusive as possible, to open the stages and the content to as many privacy protection experts and those to be that want to follow us here. So thank you very much to our partners this year. That's all from me for now. I'm now going to give the stage to Susanne Dehmel. Susanne Dehmel is Managing Director of Law and Security here at Bitkom, and will be welcoming you for this year's conference. Susanne, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rebekka, and good morning to everyone, and welcome to the second and international day of our Bitkom Privacy Conference. Our privacy conference, as Rebekka said, brings together all different stakeholders from the field of privacy, and we want to discuss the most important topics regarding data protection. Even after half a decade of the GDPR, it continues to raise a lot of questions, and more data and tech regulation is already on its way. Commissioner Reinders from the EU Commission will talk about that in a minute. As we do every year, we recently asked 500 companies in Germany how they handle the GDPR and what are the major hurdles in living up to it, really. And what we see from the answers is that GDPR still seems quite a long way from reaching its goal to truly creating a uniform data protection framework and rule in Germany. Not only in Germany, of course, in Europe. And after 5 years, the GDPR does not really get good grades also. When asked to rate the GDPR, companies say that the framework is barely passing and giving it the grade sufficient, which is 3.9, which is mere pass in Germany. So about 2/3, 65% of companies have now fully or largely implemented the regulation, but the challenges are still great. The main complaints are that GDPR makes business processes more complicated and it is too impractical. Businesses also struggle with the permanent need to reassess and also the legal uncertainties that partly still exist and partly come up anew. So I think we can state that 5 years after the introduction of the GDPR, the goal of creating a uniform data protection framework with high standards for Europe was and is correct, but the differing implementation and enforcement in practice absolutely show that this goal has not yet been achieved. 56% of companies say that they had to slow or put on hold the development of new products and services, and nearly half of them find that innovations from other regions cannot be used in the EU because of the GDPR. Almost all companies tell us that they have already stopped innovative projects due to legal uncertainty or data protection restrictions. I think we really have to consider what to do if companies are still struggling to implement the rules and seeing that we still don't get a uniform framework because of the multitude of interpretation. And we might want to intensify the discussion about amendments of the framework and also the chances of privacy-enhancing technologies. With increasing digitization, data protection issues are at the core of the vast majority of companies. Accordingly, the importance of data and its responsible use must become an even stronger focus of politics. We need a more interconnected dialogue that covers not only data protection, but focuses even more on technological advancements and the balancing of interests. On the German and European level, data protection authorities must increase their capacities to advise companies and enable controllers to implement and to develop innovative solutions. So solutions and technologies in a data protection compliant manner. And of course, on the national level, when we look at Germany, we should not only harmonize interpretations between our 18 data protection authorities, but we also have many differing state rules that still hinder the uniform application of the European framework. What we see in the last years is also the importance of international data transfers. We also ask about that. And German companies are heavily dependent on international data transfers outside the EU to countries, to other countries outside the EU. And only 36% of companies manage without such data exchange. So the most important destination country for international data transfers still remains the US, with 64% of companies depending on having data processed on the other side of the Atlantic. International data transfers do not only affect a few companies or only large corporates. The German economy depends on them across the board. We therefore welcome a lot that the EU and the US have agreed on a successor agreement to the Privacy Shield. Legal certainty will depend on its legal standing and the decisions of the courts. We will have the opportunity to discuss that with Alex Greenstein, the director of the Data Protection Framework, later today. And now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker today, Didier Reynders, with the European Commissioner for Justice in charge of rule of law and consumer protection. And we are really proud that he has agreed to join and open our conference once again this year and lay the groundwork for our discussions. The European Commission has had a lot on its plate in recent years, formulating a strategy for digitization and the data economy to ensure that we will stay competitive and innovative in Europe and be able to continue to support our thriving society. So the recent regulatory proposal for better enforcement in cross-border cases in data protection is one additional building block to develop the framework further. Commissioner Reynders has agreed to explain what will be the most important changes in the regulatory environment and what the Commission is working on to achieve our common goals. Commissioner Reynders, welcome, and the floor is yours.